I'm so excited to introduce to you Erin Bartlett, the owner of All in Place.
Organizing.
Can you tell us a little bit about your business, your company, your philosophy, how you got started?
Yeah. So, All in Place Organizing got started about 20 years ago. And I'll tell you a little bit about the backstory. I was visiting a friend, and she had just moved into a new place, and it was a mess. And she is a tech person, not a interior designer or home decorator. She had no clue how to manage that. So she was on a call, and I started just playing with stuff in her boxes of things to unpack. And I created this little vignette table setting with placemats and dishes and candles and dried flowers and all that. And she comes out of the other room and she goes, oh my God, how did you do that? She was blown away. And I was just playing. Yeah. I was just having fun with the things that were laying around. Yeah. So she said, you should do this for a living. And this was back in 2001.
Did she hire you to put the rest of her house together?
She did.
Yeah, very good.
She did, actually. And then I just started telling people that's what I do. And people started hiring me. So I thought, okay, I have a knack for this.
Yeah,
and I enjoy it. And it's fun for me.
Yeah.
So I've been doing it off and on in between other jobs. And I finally started doing it full time about 8 years ago. So I have a couple of aspects to my company. Mm-hmm. One is in person, people's homes or their office. And then during the pandemic, of course, I couldn't do that. So I had already been thinking about how can I create something that I can do where I don't have to be there in person. And then this whole thing with Zoom started happening during the pandemic. So I created a program, and it's called Women in Good Company, and it's 7 weeks long. And there's usually 8 or 10 women in a group, and we meet once a week on Zoom. People take on a project of something they want to get accomplished during that 7 weeks, and then they support each other during the week. And we have a lot of fun. It's a very safe space. It's meant to support women to collaborate and to share the barriers, the places where they get stopped, the things that confront them about getting organized, and they have a good time.
Can you tell us about like what the projects range from?
Yeah, that's really fun because people can take on anything they want. Yeah. So one person completed 3 years worth of back taxes.
Wow.
Right?
And that sounds terribly boring.
I know, right? Yeah. But she got it done. Another woman was wanting to get a new hardwood floor put in. So she had to get everything out of the house to do that. She got that done during the 7 weeks.
Wow.
Another woman was writing her memoirs. And so her goal was to do 1 chapter a week during the 7 weeks. She ended up completing 21 chapters.
Wow.
And completing her memoirs.
That is so cool.
Yeah. Well, another fun one that I like is a woman who, she and her husband had a house in Vermont as well as California. It was a house that had been in the family for generations. And they had a barn. And it was full. The barn was full. And it was packed full of, heirlooms and trash and anything you can imagine. Yeah. And her goal was to get the barn emptied out so that they could use it for parties and get-togethers. And it took 2 programs, but she did it.
That's amazing. Yeah. So it's not just because when I think of organizing, I think drawers, closets, your house. Sounds like it's a little bit more all-encompassing as far as I wouldn't think of hiring an organizer to help with my taxes. I'd go to a CPA in general, or to do a memoir. So that's cool that it's all-encompassing and allows you to just be creative and imaginative as far as what you want to get done.
Right. It's really fun for people.
Space. Yeah.
And the thing that most clients say about working either in the program or with me individually is that it's really, a lot of people know what to do. They know how to do it. It's not rocket science. and they just put it off.
Yeah.
And just don't get to it, or get distracted, or find 101 other things to do.
Yeah.
Because other things are more fun.
Yep. So what do you think motivates them once they've signed up or registered for your class to actually accomplish those tasks that they've been putting off?
I think a lot of it is just knowing that there's somebody there listening to them, holding them accountable. Mm-hmm. They have, it keeps the focus, right? It keeps them focused.
Yeah.
And then they have in the group thing, they have other people to bounce ideas off. And that's part of the fun of the group program.
Yeah.
And then if individual, they know that I'm coming, right? Oh yeah, Erin's going to be here at 2:00, so I better
at
get...
1:00, I'm going to start working.
And so I hold their feet to the ground, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On your website, you mentioned that your mother was an inspirational influence in getting you organized and kind of lending the path to this career choice. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. My mother was an artist. She made her living as a mosaicist.
Oh, very cool.
So she would make custom-made mosaics and sell them to restaurants or hotels or individual buyers.
Wow.
And one of the things I realized recently about what I do now is it's somewhat connected to, there's a sequence of events. So my mom also invented the first original permanent sandcastle.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
One day she said to herself, I'm tired of making one-of-a-kind things and waiting to get paid for months for a commission check.
Yeah.
I need to make something I can mass produce.
Yeah.
So a friend was visiting and he said, I'm going to go make a sandcastle on the beach. And she goes, ding, ding, ding. That's it.
Wow.
Sandcastles, permanent sandcastles.
Wow.
So the original are made out of clay. Then pour a black rubber mold over the clay, pour plaster into the mold, dry the plaster, dip that in glue, pour sand over the glue, dry that, do another coat of that, and you've got a castle, permanent castle.
Yeah.
Now the first castles really did look like they were built on the beach. They were blobby.
Yeah.
Very blobby. She can't even imagine how they got sold, but they did. We ended up with a factory with 20 employees, 200 sales reps across the country.
Holy moly.
Disneyland, Disney World, Disneyland in Japan.
So cool.
Neiman Marcus, Gump's, these big time retail places and gift manufacturers all across the country.
Wow.
Sold our castles.
That is so fascinating.
So one of the things I did was when I came back from Ireland, after living there for 10 years, was to work in the family business here in Santa Cruz called Enchanted Sandcastles. And I would sculpt some of the original castles out of clay. So, the way I kind of tied all this in recently is that I lived in a castle in Ireland for a year as a nanny.
Wow.
And then I came back to Santa Cruz and I helped build castles. And now I help people make their home their castle.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't that fun?
Full circle, yeah. We all have our guilty pleasures as far as what we love to do with regards to organizing. Like, I actually like the things that you can't see to be organized, such as closets and drawers, because those are like, I know a secret. What is your guilty pleasure with regards to organizing, or your favorite thing about organizing?
Oh, it's the external visual, like going into my bedroom at night and I have dried flowers and I have cushions on the bed and having it all look just right and inviting, welcoming. Yeah, it's more of the aesthetic. Yeah.
See, I love that, but I'm just like, everybody can see that. Mine's like, you want to see my drawer?
I like that too, right? In fact, one of the things I tell people when it comes to getting organized, you want to think of it like your silverware drawer.
Yeah.
So when you go into your silverware drawer, you know exactly where to put things. Knives go here, spoons here, forks here. And that's what you want your home, your office, whatever it is you're trying to get organized to be like, so that you can go, you don't have to think about it. You just go and put it where it belongs. And when you go to get it, you know where it is. And you don't have to move 10 things out of the way to get to it.
Yeah, I think that's important.
And right now we're in a cultural crisis in this country. There is way too much stuff. Everybody has it. It's so available. It's so cheap, so plentiful. People shop for a pastime, for a hobby, and they end up with storage lockers. Like everywhere you go, you see storage lockers full of stuff, and people do it for years at a time. And then most of it is not worth the amount of money that you spent storing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
So, and that's just what's happening in this country right now. People say, try to organize their way out of a mess.
Oh, yeah.
You can't organize your way out of having too much stuff
you have to get rid
in
of
too small a space.
Yeah.
Right? You can't just go buy containers, baskets, the things to put things in and expect that you're going to have a orderly, functional space.
So what is your process? Speaking of, you can't organize out of a mess. What is your process as far as, let's say I hire you to come into my home and help me with my space, and I'm not messy, so I'm hard to you'd be like, you need to get more stuff. But in general, let's just pretend that I was. Like, what is your process? You come into my home and how do you get me organized?
Yeah, the first thing we do is talk about what's your vision for the space, right? How do you want it to function? What do you want it to be available? Do you want it to be other people to be able to come in, or is it just for your own satisfaction to be able to find stuff? And so we look at that first. And then the first thing I have people do is purge. You know, we just go around and get rid of anything that they absolutely cannot, don't need, don't want, don't love. It's pretty basic.
How's that process? Are people resistant, or are they like ready to purge?
Usually by the time they hire me, they're ready to do something, right? But at first there's a little resistance, and we might, like, let's say a clothes closet. And first you take something out and you go, okay, keep. I can let go of that. Maybe. Keep. And then eventually, but as they get into the rhythm of it and start seeing space open up, then the baby pile gets smaller, the toss or giveaway pile gets bigger, and the keep pile gets smaller.
Oh, nice.
So it's kind of building a little trust and momentum, and being inspired by starting to see the space open up and feeling the experience of like being able to breathe and see what they have and be able to get to what they have.
Yeah, it's satisfying.
So,
there's a psychological element to organizing, I believe.
Absolutely. Yes. And that's, it comes back to my tagline, experience the freedom of organized living.
Oh, I love that. Can you share a memorable experience that significantly positively impacted one of your clients throughout your organizing process?
Yes. There was a woman, and this was by Zoom. We did this by Zoom. She had a counter, and then in between the counter and the cupboards was a gap.
Oh, okay.
And then there were glass covered cupboards. So that gap, quite a wide space and tall, was completely packed with stuff. Cords, papers, baskets, anything you can think of. It was crammed in there, full. And, wasn't supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Right? And it was that kind of thing where it's just like every time she looked at it, it would just drive her crazy. So the first thing I did was ask her to find some bins or baskets, something that she could take everything out of there. Just take everything off the shelf, off that space, out of that space. And then just put back a few things that you really want to look at. And so we did that first so that she could see the result.
Yeah, I like that.
Then start going through the baskets and bins full of stuff.
Yeah.
And it was so dramatic, the difference. So now she calls that her sacred space.
Oh, I love that.
It's so pretty. There's lighting underneath the cupboards.
Yeah.
And she's just got a couple of sculptural pieces and a nice ceramic bowl, and nothing else goes on there because it's sacred space.
Did the collection in that area start because that was like her catch-all, like throw your keys there, and then grew and grew and grew?
Yeah, exactly.
How do you combat that? Because I mean, whether you like stuff or don't like stuff, like there are some things in life that seem to be a necessity if you live in our society.
Yeah.
Keys.
Really good question, Shamika, because that's the thing that you then have to create systems for how to deal with all that stuff was in that space. And of course, a lot of it was stuff that could just be thrown away. And then there were things like papers, and we had to figure out where was going to be the logical place, create a place that you would actually put the papers. Some things, we created some spaces in the garage where she could put the things that didn't belong in that area. So, and then it's training yourself to actually, just a few more steps to that other place. And a lot of it's changing the habit of just, I'll do that later, or, well, I'll just put it here for a minute. So it really does take some discipline and training. But the thing that helped was seeing it in its, in a state where it was beautiful to look at. It made her feel calmer, happier. Her husband was much happier. And
saved their marriage.
It was an incentive, to keep, to create those systems, which we did over time, and then stick with the habit. And then sometimes there's some maintenance involved, because you can start backsliding into the old habits. So we've had a couple of maintenance calls as well.
And so then when you get a maintenance call, you just go over or zoom over and...
And we start looking at, okay, what is that item and why is it not where it needs to be? Is there a place for it? Do we need to create a place for it? And is it something you really need to hold on to?
I like the systems idea. In your opinion, what role does organization in both your personal and your professional space play in being efficient, productive, calm, happy? Fill in the blank with any other emotions that may be.
Well, one thing I know, when people have a lot of clutter in their space, whether it's a workspace or home, they get tired. They're just more drained and overwhelmed. So there's that whole experience of feeling overwhelmed and of giving up. Or, like I have people say, I look at all this mess and I just throw up my hands and walk out the door and go for a walk. And then the stuff never gets dealt with, right?
Hey, walking's healthy.
It's good, yes. And that's always a good excuse too, right?
I'll
just go get a good walk in.
Then your endorphins are pumping, you feel good, and you come back home to your messy space.
And it also causes a lot of stress. Like if you're going to look for a document or something, or an important paper that you need to take with you to a meeting and can't find it, and you've only got 10 minutes, and people can get really stressed and have a lot of anxiety and a lot of frustration, and then guilt. One big aspect of being disorganized is the guilt, the shame, the embarrassment, blaming themselves for not being able to be organized, and then it kind of filters into other aspects of their life, and the conversation in the background is, I'm not good enough, I should be able to handle this, I should be more, could, all that kind of negative self-talk that really impacts your sense of joy and satisfaction and happiness. And it's really prevalent.
Do you find that most of your clients, once you kind of set them on a path and do the initial purge and organizing with systems in place, are able to maintain and manage?
Most people are, And once we get it into a state where it really is easy to put things back and you know where things are, most people will manage that and be happy to do it because it's so much more relaxing.
Yeah.
There's a few people that find it more challenging, and just the old habits are hard to die.
Right.
I've had a couple of people that were basically hoarders.
Yeah.
And that's more, takes more psychology. I'm not a therapist.
Right. You're like, I can clean this.
And
but...
so, you know, I've worked with a couple of people where they just need more help than I can give them, because I'm not a psychologist, a therapist, a psychiatrist, and that's sometimes deep-seated.
Right.
Yeah. And for a while I thought about working with hoarders and getting more training on how to do that. But I decided I'd rather not.
Yeah, not your passion.
I'd rather not. It's not my forte. And there's lots of other people that need help that I can work with.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, people really do find a great deal of freedom and satisfaction and less stress in their life when they can, and it saves money because you're not looking for that same, you know, for those pens or that tape or that whatever it is that you go out and buy another one.
Right.
So,
right.
And then later you find out you have 5 of those already somewhere. So
if you just had one spot to put those,
then
you wouldn't have 5 of them. Yeah. So what do you see the future of all-in-one, all-in-place organizing?
Yeah. Well, eventually I'd like to do more courses, more online programs, and probably put together a kind of a membership situation where people can buy into a membership and have videos available for them to watch on how to get organized and
little tutorials.
Tutorial. And maybe I'll get around to writing that guideline book of some kind. Yeah,
you need to take your course so you can write your book.
That's right. Exactly. And the program that I'm doing, the Women in Good Company, could be grown more as well. So I'd like to go from 10 clients, 10 participants to 15 or 20. And I think it would still work quite well that way.
I like that.
And and the other thing is to expand to doing it more than one day a week. I could do one course on Saturday, and right now it's just on Mondays, but some people can't participate because they have to work on Mondays.
Right.
So I am planning to do that at some point. One of the programs that I've started to create, it's not available yet though, is called The 7 Stages of Living an Organized Life.
Oh.
And it will go more into the aspect of what's behind the clutter issue. What's stopping you from being organized? What's the conversation, the thought process, the beliefs that are interfering with your ability to get organized and stay organized? So that's in process. Yeah. No, I just really enjoy having this conversation, and hope that people get some benefit from it, some value, and come and work with me.
Yeah. Hire Erin Bartlett. All in place organizing. .org.
Yeah.
All in place organizing.
Yeah.
All in place organizing with Erin Bartlett. Check her out. Hire her. She will get your life on track.
Yay. Thank you.
Life and space.
Life and space.
Yeah.